Thank you.
And we're live. Okay, we are live. So, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us on this awesome live event. Today we have with us our special guest, Suzanne Postings. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're muted. Great. Lots of love to everyone. Please also, yeah, like share your thoughts and where you are from in the comment sections. And Susan is a light language channeler. You were also very much into Reiki healing, but you have progressed out of that and you're like doing new stuff right now. And like,
Yes.
can you explain, please, like how does this work and like how did your healing modalities evolve?
Well, I first got into Reiki in Thailand in 2001, 2002, when I didn't really know what it was. Was 10 months into a year's trip of traveling, and I just saw a thing for Reiki and was like, what's that? And they said it's healing. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And went for the attunement, and it just shifted my consciousness. It just blew me wide open and started on the journey. And I then got a couple of years later into Shambhala multidimensional healing, which was all about, and that was in 2004. It was all about the collapse of the matrix system and the rise of the 5D energies, and to be able to what was going to happen and what we were going to be able to shift as multidimensional beings. And it was actually in those programs, that was in Thailand, again in a little place called Pai in northern Thailand. We were doing DNA activations, and it's only kind of now over the last few years that I've realized how important those times were and what we were learning and what we were talking about and what we were actually envisaging for the world. So I sort of sat with those energies for a few years and taught yoga, and in 2014 started really teaching Shambhala multidimensional healing and Reiki. But I always taught it from a perspective of ascension. It was never so much for me about the hands-on healing techniques, which is obviously what I did do because that's what it's about, but it was always about how Reiki or Shambhala or whichever, Karuna, whichever Reiki system you go for, could shift you and open up your spiritual connection. That was what was really, really, really excited me. And I always say it's like Reiki is going, attunements like that are like going from old dial-up internet to super fast broadband. It shifts you, it opens your connection. So that was always really where had my interest and where I really wanted those conversations and came alive from that. And that shifted into shamanic healing, and then for in about I embarked on a program in, I think it was 2019, but I think 2018, 17, I had a restriction in my throat
Oh, yeah.
for like a year. I did some shamanic training and some soul retrieval training, and at that training I had this restriction in my throat. And for a year I was going to for Reiki healers, and I was journaling, and what am I not saying, what's going on, what am I, and I just had kept this, whatever it was happening, whatever I was doing, it wasn't going away. And through going through a process of a 2 month DNA activation light language program, I didn't realize that that was what I was going to activate within myself. But that is what happened. That's how it came through, and it took quite a while for me to allow the channeling to come through. And I remember doing with some friends, I was kind of playing around with the energy one day and giving like a meditation, but I was still in but it was in English, and I was still in that energy of the meditation. And my friend said something to me, asked me a question, and I remember saying, this year is for Suzanne to learn to connect to us. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, woo! I really kind of freaked out because it was like it was the first time I realized that I was channeling something other than my own thoughts or my own, it was something else. And that's when it really started to come through. The light language really started to just, as I allowed it, and I remember when it first came through, I would be walking the dog, thankfully down a very quiet lane, going, and it just got,
Yeah, I did it with my cat. I was playing with my cat when I first spoke light language.
yeah, and there's a certain amount of resistance in you, you're like, what? Because you can't consciously comprehend what you're going to say or what it means. You have to get used to the vibration, and you have to sit back and get out your own way and allow it to come through, and also clear. There was a lot of resistance that I had to clear. There was a lot of emotions that I had to go through. There was a lot of old beliefs I had to release. There was a period of time that I went through where I was really feeling a lot of fear. I used to drive a taxi. I was healing part-time and driving a taxi part-time, and I remember, thankfully not when anybody was ever, not when a passenger was in the car, but driving to something, having to pull over and breathe because the fear was coming up. But I realised that was fear leaving me, those old energies, that old density leaving me, so that I could make way for more light and allow these languages to come through. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, as I know it will be for a lot of people.
Yeah, like many more people are, like I also started to be more serious about light language in the past 2 years since I started my YouTube channel. Before that, I kind of heard of it, but never really experienced it. I first talked light language, just as you have said, like a few words in 2013 when I was playing with my cat. And I was just not even paying attention. I was just in the flow and just slipped out. And I was like, whoa, like, what was that?
Yeah.
Very strange. But after that, I decided to like let it through. And also like I did a lot of work on myself too, so it can come more clearly through. And I've recorded my first light language experimentations. It's here on YouTube. I haven't done anything outside of that. So yeah, it was very interesting. And also many people have written in that they are also like activated by listening to existing light language, or many people have also written in that they recognized how I'm speaking, or it is very similar to what they are speaking, but they have never heard what I speak so far. And I also like recognized, like I wouldn't say trends, but different frequencies that like repeat. You have like this very strong Native American-ish energies in some of them. And I think that's kind of what I gravitate towards mainly. And there are also others too, like, have you heard of Pleiadian portal, Sananda Christ? Like
No,
she,
I don't know.
yeah, like her energy is like very similar to what I channel. And she also has like a very strong Pleiadian energy to it, just as mine sometimes. But yeah, like, could you like explain, as far as we understand right now in current history, like what is light language and like how can we use it in our day-to-day ascension process?
Okay, so light language, in my understanding, is a vibrational frequency that cuts through karmic density. For me, it works in two ways. From a healing perspective, if I'm working one-on-one with clients, then it shifts. You can kind of see where there's karmic density, especially when the guides come through and they go ee. It's kind of like I'm either calling in light, or I can see where there's kind of like density, and it kind of goes. So that's one thing that we can do with it, and it's a vibrational frequency. It speaks directly to your soul. It's a language that the soul understands, away from the conscious mind, and even deeper than it. Goes right into the cells, right into our spiritual body, and it clears a lot of density. That's why I think when after you've had like a one-to-one kind of session, people can be very, crying and lots of emotions coming up, and especially like if you're listening to it on YouTube, or it can trigger things because it's going into that density and allowing it to bring in more light. So we can shift ancestral energy, we can shift past life, we can shift this life, all that kind of stuff. But then you also can channel it to awaken. And that's when it comes in like a DNA activation. So when I'm working with groups, which is what I do more now, the energies come through, and there's the activations have a intention. So they're like the intention of space. So to create space within your energy field, and then the next one, like one of the ones I do, the first week is space, and then it's play, to activate the energy of play within our cells and within our energy fields and within our DNA, because we've forgotten that we need space within our lives and space within ourselves to activate the light. And how do we create? We create through play. So that's kind of how it works with me, and I think we're just, as a being, as a species, we're just, would we have been having this conversation about light language 10 years ago? Maybe not.
Probably
And we're
not.
still at the kind of, we're just poking our head through the curtains to go, what's this light language then? I am really excited to see and to witness what we are able to do as we all activate each other, because that's what we do. We activate, we come online, you activate somebody else, that activates something, the light, we are sparks and we activate each other. So I'm really excited to see what can be achieved. And it's, of course, never ending. It's always opening up. It's always, it's going to continue to evolve forever, because that's what this life is about. We are an ever expanding universe. But I'm really interested to see what will happen with this in the future. Like, I'd love to get with a scientist who can have a look under a microscope to see what happens to a cell when you have the intention of changing the energy of it through light language. What happens to it? Can we see that? Can we see what? Because we are all one, and we are all light, and we all have that ability. So yeah, I don't understand it word for word, and I think if you try and get in your head about it and know that kia suat na matya means I'll be late for dinner, you're gonna miss the opportunity to really sink into the energy and the feeling of what is coming through in that. And that's why, because it doesn't translate. And that's the beauty of it, I think, because we have to get out of a conscious mind and feel the vibration of what it feels like going through our energy field. And it's different for everybody on a different day.
Yeah, like that's also what I receive for channeling. Like that's why light language comes from this, I don't know, like would say like gibberish type of language to our ego mind, because like it's bypassing our logical mind and like going directly energetically. So we don't start to like rationalize, like, okay, like what is this saying? What is this communicating? And most of the time, I think it's not saying anything. It's just like frequencies coming through. And like that's how our vocal cords translated somehow into language.
Mm-hmm.
And also we were like talking about the evolution of it. And High Vibration had like an awesome question that there are some theories in the awakening community that maybe in the future, like our verbal language, like how we communicate with words, will be like replaced or will evolve in a type of light language maybe, or some kind of high vibrational language. Have you heard about this, or have you have any thoughts about this?
I haven't heard about it. I don't see why not. I think we're in anything's possible anything is possible. And, the languages that are here at the moment are quite, I think, can be quite dense languages. I think it would be lovely to be able to go to a frequency where that can't lie, because in the English language, well, and I'm sure in other languages, you can say something and it's the tone of how you say it that will decide whether it's actually meant as a compliment or whether it's meant as a sarcastic comment and it's not very kind. So, wouldn't it be nice to be able to develop into a language that doesn't have that ability, that is always truth? But I also think as well we will shift more into the telepathy. Well, me and my friends have always called it T-mail, so you can T-mail someone. But who knows what is possible, but I think as well we can still have fun with language. We can still enjoy language and jokes, and because I hope in light language, if it does evolve to that, I hope joking around and laughing and will not be taken out of that as well. I hope that we can still communicate that humor that we get so beautifully as being human beings.
Yeah, like that's a frequency too, basically.
Yeah.
And like regarding this whole evolution stuff, like I don't know, like have you had then like any experiences, like what is like, I don't know how to phrase it, like I had like experiences that I was remembering times from Atlantis where I was like using the very same words that I'm speaking now in light language, and I was like able to do different stuff with it back then. Like back then we had like temples and like technology which reacted to these frequencies that we could like channel from the higher realms, and it came through as light language. And do you think like now that we're all healing and like moving to the higher realms, like is this something like light language, is it something that's coming back again into the collective of humanity?
I think
Or is
so.
it something new?
I believe so, and I have a very strong Atlantean connection as well, and I live by the Atlantic Ocean here, and the Shambhala is Atlantean, that I've been, holding that since 2004, as I say. So, but I don't remember. I do in my dreams. I go into things in my dreams, but I don't consciously remember where life's then. And sometimes that disappoints me a bit. I'm like, oh, come on, I'd really love to be able to, remember. But I also think that, we can sometimes try to go too deeply into who was I, where have I come from, rather than realizing what we're here to do is to connect with those energies and bring them and ground them into this human experience. And I think that's really important. It took me years to ground. I used to love being off on my broomstick and, and up there, but I would crash very quickly. And I actually couldn't hold those higher frequencies for very long because I wasn't grounded. So now I don't, if something's meant for me, if I'm meant to know where the language is coming from, if I'm meant to know what beings are, then I will get an energetic hit. And when you were just talking about Atlanteans, then my energy field was really kind of like feeling the truth of that. But I don't tend to try and work out whether I'm connecting to the ORION'S or in that moment. I just allow myself to open up and ground in that energies, because we are shifting this reality, and that's, I think, really important and really amazing that we have got so many channels now. There are so many people, look at this YouTube channel yourself, how much it's grown over the last 2 years, and what a message you're putting out there for humanity. And there's so many people that are doing these amazing things and bringing through this energy and sparking each other so that we are awakening, and it's already at critical mass. It has been for a long time, whatever is being sold out there, we are awoke, whichever, and it's amazing time to be alive. And there's so many people's gifts are coming on, starting to come on board. And that's why for me now, like, I don't teach Reiki anymore, really. I do programs like of light language DNA activations to help and support people awaken, but not within a linear flow, because Reiki is a beautiful system, but it's still a system, and what I want to support people to do is awaken, be outside of the system. What are they here to share? And I think we're going to see some amazing beings with lots of, we've all got little different vibrations and different frequencies. You might have similar frequencies to somebody, but then a different frequency, you know? And it's going to be amazing. It already is amazing to see what people can do and what they can achieve. And once we get past our little ego, bless it, it's amazing what we can bring through.
Yeah, like when we can, I always see it like you can do like this much with your ego, but if you go beyond the ego, then you can do this much.
Yeah.
That's when the real fun starts too.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and like someone has written in like I also, when I posted my light language videos, like many people asked like, where is it from or what is it? And like I know like many times I don't really know. Like I usually tune into my heart center and I like receive information from there. But many times, at least for me, it's not like super clear, like it's the Arcturians or something similar. Like, or is there any way maybe that you can tell or like find out like where is it coming from maybe?
I'm similar to you. When I open up, I set the space around me. So I ask for, the ancestors and elders for the north, the east, the south, and the west to come in. The archangels to set the space, very much like Steve Nobel does, to kind of, hold the space. The archangels to come in. I always put in that I want beings of the highest vibration of light and love to be able to connect with me, and I might call in certain beings like the Pleiades, the Arcturians, but then I might get the dragons and the fairy races and all sorts of things that come in. So I just allow myself to open up and be a conduit for that. Quite often the Atlantean, especially if there needs to be a clearing, the Atlanteans, I can feel them coming in, and they will sort of, want to come through with the energy of bluey green Atlantean oceanic energy, which kind of pours through. And that is very much kind of when I can feel them coming in and wanting to do that. But I never know. I mean, like yesterday I was sat here and I got this very kind of like, it's very fun, very quick, happy energy. And I was like, what? And it was the energy of money. It's like, wanting to connect. And I'm like going, okay, what am I going to be doing with this? So there's lots of different, when we start to open up that door and allow and not get too much in the head about it, then lots of beings, energies will want to come through. And sometimes it is very clear. And then other times it's not. And actually it's a bit like a buffet. Sometimes, somebody wants to come in for the starter and, somebody else is going to come in for the main course, and then somebody else is going to come in for
like things like blend together, like different energies blend together.
Yeah.
That's what I get usually.
Yeah, so yeah, I think with anybody that's wanted to just play with it, just, set that intention that you are, that you're a conduit for the light, and that you want to be the frequency, the highest vibration of love light, and so that you're not opening up to anything that you don't want to be, and set that and play with it, enjoy it, play, because there's lots of beautiful, there's bee energy that comes through. There's lots, and I don't think like I say, the door's only open a crack at the moment. As more people are able to hold that light in their cells, in their bodies, then we're going to see a lot more.
Yeah, like it wasn't in the comment section, but I think we talked about it like maybe a year ago. Like there is light language, this high vibrational language, and maybe is there a version of it that is like dark language or like a lower vibrational version of it? Like I once I like experimented with that too. It was very strange. I haven't stayed in that realm for much.
I mean, I haven't experienced it myself, and I tend not to go down that rabbit hole, because I truly believe that we are our attention goes, you know, energy flows where our attention goes. So if we're in that realm of believing that, then we're going to be giving more energy to that belief. So I kind of tend to stay away from it. So it's not my realm. And anyway, there's so much fun in the light.
Yeah, like darkness is much more
Doesn't mean to say you
limiting.
can't be mischievous, because I'm very mischievous, but you know, it's certainly more fun in the light, and bringing through the light language. And there's so many beings that want to connect with us. You know, yeah.
Yeah, like as you were talking about, like setting the intent to bring forth the clearest and highest light. So yeah, like that's what I wanted to ask also about the dark language. Like maybe when you're like not very much at home on like how your energy works and like what feels good and like what is like maybe deceptive energy, like maybe then you can like bring through something like that. It could be possible, like I haven't experienced that, but yeah, like first you have to like very much like get to know your own energies.
Yeah.
And like as high vibration said, like we're expert light detectors. Like when something is coming in, like not just in our spiritual work, but like in our day-to-day activities, like when you are exposed to someone's energies, then you can feel it. Like are they okay, or maybe they're trying to deceive me, or they have like some kind of hidden dubious motive.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we are very good at detecting those stuff. Like
Yeah.
we just have to get used to how it works, basically.
Yeah, and we're also very good at telling ourselves that what's being sold to us, even though we feel it's wrong, we're
Yeah,
also
like
very good at talking ourselves into it and going, oh, well, you know, maybe I should just stick at this job because maybe it's not so bad after all, when, you know, your whole being is like that and you can't sleep before work and you're ill and you're this and you're that, you know, but we're pushing on because we think it's the only way, and you know, and our inner being is going, no, come on, you know, there's something better out there for you. So we're very good at master at deception, at deceiving ourselves, I think, and I think that's a big step at what we're learning to do now, is actually to really get into our emotional body, because our emotions are a guidance system, and really feel our way into what is right. And this is where we are in our ascension and in our journey, because the old way was think your way into it, and the 5D way is to be able to, you know, step by step follow those breadcrumbs of what's feeling good and what's feeling good and what's feeling good, and also being able to release the density when something's not feeling good, to be able to sit in it and see what it is. You know, is this an old limiting belief that I need to get through in order to release that energy, in order to step into more in my truth? And that's what we're learning how to do at the moment. And it's, you know, sometimes it's really difficult because it's so letting go of the old way of how we do things and into this new way of being, which you're not going to get a clear picture of what's going to be happening in the next 10 years.
or
Even the
like
next 10 days, even the next 10 hours.
yeah.
You know, we've just got to keep going, and that's why getting into our feelings is really, really, really important.
Yeah, like, and we were like programmed for the exact opposite, as you have said, like to be this very much mind-centered, which is basically, it's based on information that you receive from the outside world, and based on that, you like make a logical conclusion on what you should be doing. But what happens if that information is, I know, like fraudulent or distorted or deliberately deceptive?
Yeah.
Yeah, like then it doesn't go well. Yeah, like
No.
that's why we have to listen to our feelings too.
Yeah. And
What
also,
do
we've lost that connection to our physical body as well. I mean, if you think about it, a child at school, you know, as young as kind of 5 will say, can I go to the toilet? And they're told, no, you should have gone 15 minutes ago. Well, it's like, well, I didn't want to go 15 minutes ago. I want to go now. So from a very young age, we're taught to disengage from our physical body, which is telling us, go and do that now rather than this now, because it wasn't, you should have gone 10 minutes ago, you shouldn't have gone, and it's like when you look at it like that, we go, oh my God, yeah, our physical body, not only on an emotional level will tell us what's going on, but also on a physical level what's going on, and we're programmed out of that and into this time set, or into this, no, you shouldn't feel like that, or you shouldn't want to do that now. And it starts very, very young of how we're programmed out of our natural rhythm, so we're having to deprogram ourselves and back into our natural rhythm.
Yeah, like just as with the medical system too, like if you're feeling discomfort in some part of your body, then just take some pills for it.
Yeah.
And you're like silencing the only voice of your body, like which is trying to tell you, okay, like there's something wrong here and you should really look at it.
Yeah. Well, it's dis-ease within the mind causes disease within the body, So I think we're learning, we're changing. It's certainly, in the UK now, it's changing the last 2 years. You can't get to a doctor's anyway because they're so busy. That old system's crumbling, so people are starting to step into wanting to know what they can do to change their life, and certainly that how they're feeling on an emotional, mental level and a physical level, and starting to take, wanting to go for Reiki, wanting to do yoga, wanting to meditate, wanting to, which is amazing, because all these things, whether, even if you just sit down with the intention to, I'm going to meditate, I don't know what I'm doing, you're putting a rocket into that energy field of like, somebody else wants to meditate, brilliant, okay, and you're raising the vibration, even if you're going, I don't know what I'm doing, you're raising the vibration and putting that. So it's a really exciting time to be alive and part of this collective shift that's going on.
Yeah, like I think like the major thing that like the past 2 years have like taught us is like taking responsibility for your own life, your own mental and physical well-being too.
Yeah. And it is all, every time you shift density, every time you shift limiting beliefs, every time, what will happen, whether it's, actually on the floor beating the ground and, crying or purging even, physically, you're making space, and then what comes in is more light, so then we are shining at a different frequency. And whether it's through light language, and we talked a little bit about when we first, when we were chatting offline, it's like, even this is a language of light. This is a conversation that has light in it. So even if it's not coming through as a kia, it's still got a frequency. I can feel it in my throat. It's still got a frequency where we are talking light, so I think people really have to understand as well that their conversations that they're having are creating this new reality. So it's amazing to be able to be in this space and creating this, even if they're not talking light language, talk lightly.
Yeah, like just as with light language, like you're saying words that you're interpreting logically, kind of. But what really counts is like the frequency and the intent that is like behind it, like you're transmitting that. And I think like that's the main bulk of the information or the energy that is very important, not necessarily what you're saying, because like logically that may sound gibberish, but the energy behind that is very beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we've all got latent codes. We were, talking about the, DNA activations. We've all got latent codes in our DNA that are coming on board, that are getting activated with our gifts. And, it can be sometimes through trauma, sometimes through, going and having that meditational retreat, or, or listening to somebody's light language, or, actually going on like a program with somebody and with DNA activations to activate a light, whatever it is. There's certain ways that we are, and we're getting, people are awakening all over now, it's happening, and it's such a beautiful, all these gifts. I've taught people, who are like doctors or nurses, or they've gone down that, and then you awaken these gifts in them, or they they have these activations, and they're like, it's so crazy what's coming through for them. I've got somebody who can actually, she like gets your feet, and she can just move into your past lives in your feet, and it's not a massage, and it's certainly not reflexology, but and you're like, wow, where did that come from? So yeah, I think us not being too linear or trying to do like, what is this? Just, we need to go with the flow of it and just allow it to evolve. I know I spent 6 months before my light language came through going, don't know what I'm doing. I haven't got a clue. Not sure. Don't know what I'm doing. Really, I was like, I don't know, and just had to sit in that space of not knowing and be okay with that. And sometimes I did it with grace and sometimes not.
We're human after all.
Yeah, and you want to know, and especially I'm a mum. I've got I'm a single mum. I've got a child on my own, and there's all that kind of stuff that goes on. So we have to be amused at ourselves sometimes.
Yeah, like just let it what it needs to be, and yeah, like if you trust it, and after a time it kind of evolves a picture or something similar, and you kind of look back and you see like, oh, like okay, like that's what it was, or it makes sense now.
Yeah. But I think we have to learn, I think, in these few years, and I don't know how much longer these few years are going to go on, but we have to learn to be okay with the uncomfortable and learn to be okay with not knowing, and hold each other in that space of not knowing. And I think that's why it's really important that, people like yourself and, there's lots of people around at the moment that are doing little short videos on, on Instagram for like a minute, just what's happening now, like Laurie Ladd or, whatever, to just support us as we're going through this, because that old ego mind, that masculine, whether you're female or male, is disintegrating, and the feminine energies, again, whether you're female or male, are coming through, and it's being able to support ourselves in each other in that space. Luckily, we don't all have a meltdown on the same day, then we can hold each other and go, it's okay, it's going to be okay, because it is a breaking down of the old structures within ourselves, not just in life, but not just out there in what we perceive to be reality, but also within our own energy systems and belief systems. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, in higher vibration had an awesome question. Is like light language the same as speaking in tongues?
I never really understood what speaking in tongues was. Like I'd never really heard it. I kind of like heard it, you sort of hear it at school, something, until I started speaking light language. And then I've got a friend who's an avid Catholic churchgoer, and I was explaining to her what I was doing, and she said, oh, like speaking in tongues, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, it must be. So I've never really listened to or heard anybody speaking in tongues, but yes, I would imagine so. I did do a little bit of research on it then, just very lightly, 5-minute kind of little Google search, and I think there was and please, this is by no means, I might be completely wrong, but it was my understanding that those people that could speak in tongues were kind of, I don't think it was shared so much. I think it was more kind of kept in for a certain for certain things within churches. I don't think it was shared so much out of there, but I don't know enough about it to really comment. But I would imagine I'd happily sit with somebody who speaks in tongues and comes from that and actually have a conversation about that. I'd love that, to see what their idea of it is and what they believe. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Like I also haven't researched that much speaking in tongues, but what came through, I'm not sure like in which part is it, but there were like these instances. I think they were the apostles, or how do you the 12 guys who learned under Christ. How do you call them in English?
I'm not very religious. Apostles, is it?
Yeah,
Is it
apostles,
apostles?
yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there was this part when they were like receiving the Holy Spirit, and like they were preaching to people, and like there were many people gathered from different languages, and everyone like understood them in their own language. Or that's kind of what I got from this. Like maybe
Ah.
light language can be like that too. Like you're receiving something consciously, but like another person is interpreting it in a way that makes sense to them, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Well, yeah, that would make sense because it's energy, isn't it? So how you receive that energy is not always, it's different for every person. But yeah, I don't get to like there's lots of different light languages out there. Some people's are very so soft and so gentle. Mine's not. Mine's like a blast of it's loud. But yeah. So I've never really heard anybody speaking in tongues either. I've not. Maybe I need to do a little YouTube search myself and go and see if there's anybody on there that's speaking in tongues, or I don't know whether it's more, like I say, is it so available, or is it sort of more hidden within the church? I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll also have to research that too.
Yeah. Good question, thank you.
And also, Jacaranda Marie asks, like, do either of you see or feel things when you're doing light language or when it comes through? Like, do you maybe receive some kind of visuals or any other of your senses are being triggered? Maybe when you're doing light language transmission?
Um, I kind of see density, so I can kind of see when that's being cleared. I cough a lot. I get physical in my throat a lot when I'm clearing energy. And the guides will show me sometimes, like they'll show me things like slavery contracts or something like that. I'll kind of be in the sacral, and I'll see kind of like lots of slavery things or something, so I'll get those kind of images, so that I know, then I'll get a break free, and I know when things are being cleared, when that energy is being cleared, so I'll get that visual. And as I say, physically, I can cough a lot because as starseeds, we hold a lot in our throat. That's sacral and the throat are the big two, how I clear energy. But I don't necessarily, I can feel, obviously, emotions. I can feel sometimes when fear really comes up, or, really, like pain in the heart when people when there's that real heartache of being separated, or whatever. I can feel that kind of energy of like loss when especially when you're clearing kind of like past life energy and stuff like that. It's like, oh my god, that heartbreak to lose somebody. So I feel it in that way, and just kind of get the images of what is being released, is how when I'm doing it for a clearing session. But when I'm doing it as an activations, the DNA activations, which just kind of feels different, then that's very much, they'll tell me the energy of what needs to be, what that transmission is for. Yeah, I remember one time I was in. They sent me to a woods in the evening on my own. I'm glad I had the dog with me, because I actually went into the woods with my drum, I think, and I felt really quite scared. There was a kind of like, oh my god, I'm in the woods on my own. And the energy that came through was wild. It was it was a wild transmission, and it was there to connect us back to our wild self, and that was quite scary to bring through. I was like sat there in the middle of the woods with my things going, yeah, God, like, oh my god, when can I get out of here? But once I'd done it, it felt okay, but there was a wild, like, earthy kind of like, tribally sort of like caveman-y kind of like, whoa, energy to it. And that was a bit like, oh god. But yeah, I don't, so that's kind of how I deal with it. I don't, about you, how do you Or how about yourself?
Well, I usually don't see much. Maybe I see colors, or maybe if I'm connecting to a being, I may see them kind of, or like get impressions from them. But mainly, I kind of see the sun or like the stars that I'm communicating with. That's kind of what I see. And yeah, like I also were called to nature, like I think it was 2 years ago. And I went out in nature, and also that was in the beginning when I started to do light language. And yeah, like I haven't never done it outside of my room, and it was very strange. But I was outside in the field, so it was kind of okay. Like no one was there. And yeah, like I was guided to like walk in circles and like do stuff with my hands, and I was chanting. I was also like repeating it almost like a mantra or something similar. Then I was like orienting towards the sun, and I was continuing to do it, and it was almost felt like I was like casting spells or something similar. That's kind of how it works for me when I do like planetary work. It doesn't really feel like I'm doing a regular transmission. It's more like it's almost like casting a spell. Like that's kind of what I feel for it.
Oh.
And I had my eyes closed, and it was in February, so we had like a very wet weather. So it was mist and it was rainy. And I was oriented towards the sun, but you couldn't see the sun because it was like so overcast and misty. And when I finished, like the whole transmission stopped. I opened my eyes, and like in front of me, like it was the sun, and like the clouds parted in a certain way that the rays of the sun like illuminated the whole moisture in
Wow.
the air on this pyramid type of structure. I was like, wow.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like when nature
amazing.
is like responding to what you're doing is like amazing.
Yeah, yeah, fabulous, amazing.
And I also had like deers show up. Like that was on another occasion. That was also very strange. Like you don't see them close. Yeah, but they really enjoyed it, so they came close for some reason.
Yeah. When I first started doing it, when I first started, especially the my dog would go, ooh, he would sit and howl at first. Like he's not got used to it now, but I remember the first time I did it, he kind of like looked at me, he's like going, what are you doing, mum? And then was like, ooh, this, bless him.
Was tuning
Yeah,
in.
now he just kind of like lies there with his paws up going, oh, I'm enjoying this. He likes the frequency.
Okay, yeah, like we're nearing the last 12 minutes mark. Do you want to share with us a DNA or light language activation during this event?
Yeah, sure, I'd love to. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
please do.
Yeah, I would love to if everybody would like to receive that. So I will probably connect to the Atlanteans. They are always there. Actually, yes, I can feel them now. They're going, yeah, come on, then let's bring some light language through from the Atlanteans to okay. So everybody, let's just sit down. Take a few breaths. Really ground yourself into this moment, into this transmission. As we call in the ancestors and elders of the four directions of the north, the east, the south, and the west. And this is a safe space for activation, for awakening, as we, the Atlanteans, connect with you to awaken you to your truth. So receive this energy, this light. So now see a bluey green Atlantean oceanic energy coming in from the central sun down into your crown chakra. Kia yo do 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 da da ya da mana ya da ya da 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 do do da 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 ya da 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 do do da mana ya da 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 do 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 da ga ya da sa ya no 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 mana na na ya da 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 do do wa. Bringing this energy down into your third eye. See ya yo do 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 clearing ya na 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 awakening kia so ya da ba ya da ya da ya da 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 ya nya 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 no do 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 da da ya da 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 ba da ya ya. Breathing, kia no no no, allowing kia na no 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 baya, see yo do 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 na 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 na, inviting in this bluey green oceanic energy, kia down into your throat, clearing, activating, allowing you to speak your truth. Kia soaya nama aya diada do go soaya nia do do go no maya da dia sa do 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 go do da 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 baya. Kia shoyo do 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 maya na ya da do do ga da ya dia da do do da ma na ya dia da da do da da sa ya dia da da do go do do wa Kia odoba ayara sia o yana manano go do 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 ya da da ya na 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 ga da ya da da do da 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 ya da do go do so into your heart. Kia ya ya clearing kia da do 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 opening kia na no no mana ya da your light portal ya da ya sia no no ma ya na 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 kia do do so do 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 da ya da mana ya da do do da ya da ga ya sia nya na do da ga ya sia yo do da ba ya da ya na do da ga ya da ya Kia no mana na na gaya da uso so ya da aya kia shishia do do baya. Down into your solar plexus. Yeah, no, go sorry, your sacral. No, your solar plexus. Yeah, nana, go soa, ya da 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 da. Releasing any being, any situation, any group that is plugged into your power. Kaya no no manana. Yeah, da 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 da. If you so wish, relinquish this connection. Yeah, na 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 na. Still keep the love, but yeah, da 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 do but not taking your power. Nia na na ma. Sia da do ba ya nia na. Sia nya do ba ga ya da. Sia da 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 na ma na na ya na da da do. Kia so do ba da ya na ga ya sia so down to your sacral. Kia na manana, bringing this bluey green oceanic energy down. Sia yada washing clean. Kia do ba da ya no na mana ya da do da. Dan ya na ya da ya da do da ya dan man ya do da ga da so do wa down to your root, Kianana, allowing you to ground in the 5D energies into the 5D earth. Kia yododo manaya da da do sa yododo yana na ya da do da ya na go do da ya da ya na Kia soaya da. calling your light, calling your energy. See yourself under a waterfall of oceanic energy, bluey green energy, washing away, clear any density from crown to base, any density just washed back through into the universe to evolve. Kia saya do da da ya naman yan ya da da do da da ga ya sia do 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 la la da da ya na 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 Kia soanana aya da 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 da. Allow that energy, that language of light to permeate through your system. Awakening, activating, clearing, and grounding in the light. Dianagaya, dogo asaya, so. It is done, it is done, it is done. Yakia saya goso akaya nanakaya da da da. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. The Atlantean beings, thank you so much for everything that you're doing, for all your light you're sharing, you beautiful, beautiful, beautiful beings. And we release all the beings now helping us. Thank you so much. And just taking a few deep breaths. And when you are ready, just coming back into the space, just open your eyes. Maybe really grounding in with your feet, allowing that energy to come in and thank you. And the on Zoom the E doesn't, or sometimes it goes out slightly.
It's too much.
Yeah, it's too much for Zoom. But don't worry, I kind of liken it a bit to a dog whistle. You know, our energy field will still feel it. It will still feel the vibration of it. So if it did go out, don't worry if the E didn't stay the whole way. Energetically, vibrationally, your body and your cells will still receive that. So yeah.
Yeah, like because we were tuning into your, oh my god, my throat chakra hasn't cleared completely. Okay. Yeah, like because we were like tuning into also your energy and like visualizing what you were saying too, like that kind of, I think like that's the most of it, like what comes through, especially like if technology is not able to translate or to communicate all the frequencies, like depending on what you're listening into, like not everything is going to come through, but it doesn't really matter.
No. Yeah, this is when I record when I'm recording live on YouTube or something like that. But when I do when I do programs with people now, I pre-record on my phone because it actually picks that up a lot better, and then those activations are uploaded into my Podio account, and then they listen to those back, because actually doing it live it's wonderful and it's amazing, but yeah, it's nice to actually also hear all the frequencies which we can do, which phones kind of pick up. But Zoom, I don't think Zoom was really created with light language in mind. I don't think that, I know there's going to be some people that are going to come along that want to use it, that are going to be, you know, doing all this frequency, but bless it, we're so blessed to have this medium. So yeah.
Yeah, like we can communicate this way, it's awesome too. Yeah. Okay, so in closing, lots of thanks for the activation too, and also for all the knowledge that you have shared. And like, where can people find you and your work?
It's SuzannePostings.com. So everything is really easy. You know, my YouTube channel's kind of growing. So I'm putting more out there. So there's Instagram. I'm not really too much on Facebook anymore, and SuzannePostings.com is, if you go to there, there's some free transmissions, free kind of, I think that I've got like free Speak Your Truth webinar, and you know, there's some different things in there to really support you. And yeah, and I'm also putting together at the moment a 2-month DNA activations called Soul Light Activations, which is on there as well. But if you want to connect, yeah, you can either go there, or you can email me at hello@suzannepostings.com. But everything is Suzanne Postings. It's just easy.
Easy to remember too.
Yeah,
I will also put it in the description and the pinned comment for this video.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, and thank you so much for inviting me on. It's been an absolute joy, and it's been wonderful to talk to you and to have this opportunity. And it's just so lovely to connect with other people that we can start these conversations, and because this is how we're birthing a new reality, by having these conversations, and it's so amazing that we can connect. So thank you very much
Thank you very much. And I hope we can talk soon too. Maybe on your channel too. Okay.
Yeah, certainly. I know. Yeah, I'd love you to come on my channel, and and I'd glad come whenever. It's quite funny to me, because at school I was always told to be quiet, shut up, Suzanne, shut up, Suzanne, shut up, Suzanne. And, recently I was having a kind of like, well, not that long ago, a bit of a crisis of identity, like, what am I supposed to be doing? And then it was like, why don't you talk, Suzanne? It was like, oh, it's so simple, it might just work, so...
Yeah.
I want to say to people, what you've been told not to do by the 3D world is probably what you're really good at. So just allow yourself to feel into what's right for you.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you very much, Suzanne.
Thank you, everybody. It's been beautiful to meet you, and I shall look forward to looking through the comments as well. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, and see you soon.
See you soon.
Have an awesome